Okay, wonderful. So we're excited to have Lucy Bullen joining us tonight. Lucy is a junior software engineer, fresh out of a full stack software engineering bootcamp that she completed just this summer. She really enjoys using code, numbers, and logic to build visual, compelling stories. In her previous career, she gained 2.5 years of data visualization and data manipulation experience using SQL and Tableau in supply chain consulting roles. She's excited to mesh her past and current experiences to harness new tools, languages, and libraries to build visually dynamic web applications. And Lucy, when you're ready, we will go ahead and hand the screen share over to you.
Cool. Thank you, Jen. Thanks for the intro there. Should be sharing my screen now.
Looks great.
Okay, great. So like Jen said, I worked with a lot of data visualization in my past career and recently made the career transition into software engineering. I'm very excited to be able to put software engineering together with my data visualization experience. So this presentation is a bit of like my career switch, a bit of transitioning of how to get into data visualization within coding. And from that, I will get started. So just to start, the quick case for visualizing data. In my eyes, and I think, in my eyes, data visualization is a very powerful way to tell a story that's visual, backed by numbers and facts. I've always been more mathy, and I find that very appealing and comforting. But in general, usually doing data visualization will be fact-based and can be used in a number of ways. I put two quick ways up on the screen that I think are great to be used in data visualization, but obviously there are many other uses for it. The first one is to answer questions, and the second one is to display information to a user in a digestible way. So for that first point of answering questions, I can think of that in a couple different ways. There's the business-oriented questions that you can use data visualization to answer. For example, in my past consulting role, companies would ask us specific questions. We would clean their data, take a look at it, and display it back to them in a more digestible way to help them make more informed decisions. But there's also very normal uses for visualizing data to answer questions. When I was thinking about it, COVID has been a big part of our lives for about 3 years now. And I've used data visualizations to help inform me in many ways. Just a quick Google search on COVID numbers, you'll be able to see some sort of choropleth map, which will show you maybe your state and the number of cases and if it's increasing and decreasing. So that's a way that data visualization helps you answer questions in your normal everyday life as well. That second data point of using data visualization to display information to a user was my way of kind of tying it back into the software engineering role. I can think of a couple of my favorite data visualizations that are tied in with software, one being Spotify Wrapped. Although it's more just displaying back your information, there's a little bit of visual involved. And another one of my favorites is on the Icon app, where it'll show you a little pie chart of your day over your overall ski season and show you, your pie slices that are green, your pie slices that are blue, and your pie slices that are black. Quick visual ways to show you information to digest it quickly and make you more knowledgeable as a user. So going from that and that little overview of data visualization into data visualization within coding, on the right-hand side are a list of resources and libraries that I've come across in my coding data visualization journey. This is by no means a full list, but it's enough to get you started. And on the left-hand side, I listed a couple of things that have been helpful to me when I look into choosing a visualization library to visualize data. So I'm going to go through those right now. The first is to think about what type of chart you're creating and if that library will support that chart. So for example, about a month ago, I needed to create a choropleth map, which again is, if you're making a choropleth map of the United States, it will be, it'll color certain geographic regions based on a data point. So one region will be darker than the other. It'll make a great visual. I needed to build one of those. I'd had previous experience with Apex charts, but Apex charts, I couldn't find any documentation on it supporting a choropleth map. So after some research, I ended up using Leaflet. But this is just to say not every visualization library will have what you're looking for. So if you know you're looking for a specific type of chart, keep that in mind when looking for a library. Other great things that have been helpful to me, documentation availability. That has been big when I run into bugs. I like to know that I have some Stack Overflow resources on that library, or that library's documentation will help me get through whatever I need to get through when problems inevitably arise and I can fix them. Other things to think about, your framework compatibility. So if you're going to be using React in your application, make sure that the library has some sort of React compatibility. Same with Vue or Angular, etc. Your data set size. Not all libraries are created equal when it comes to handling larger data sets. I have a resource at the very end of this presentation that goes into a little bit more about the inner workings of visualization libraries and which ones are better for bigger data sets or smaller data sets. I'm not going to go into that now, but there is a resource to get you just your feet wet. And then finally, we are creating visual stories. So when I'm choosing my library, I like to look at the UI. I like to see charts that other people have built and see if I like the way they look, because I want to make something that's compelling and visual and will tell a story. So that's a quick overview of different libraries available, potentially some ways to choose your library. And with that being said, I'm going to start moving into how to build some sort of data visualization. And we're going to use this Apex charts library. I'm choosing Apex charts because it's intuitive and easy to learn. I have a little bit of experience with it. It's got really great documentation, very customizable with clean UI that I like. And it's good for smaller to medium-sized data sets. And what's next, I'm going to go through how to build a chart in Apex charts, a visualization, and I'm going to try and answer a question, which is, has ski season snowfall decreased over the past years? I've been hearing that snow has been decreasing on the ski lifts for a couple of years now. We're going to make a visualization to check that out. Okay, so going into Apex chart basics, there's only 3 things you need to know to get started and to code your first Apex chart. I'll be coding in vanilla JavaScript, but we'll get into that in a second. But the 3 things you need to have on hand for your Apex chart visualization are: 1, you need to know what type of chart you're going to build, whether that be a bar graph, a line graph, etc. The second thing you need are your data labels. So down here, another way to put it are, what is your x-axis labels going to be? Another way to put it is, what does each data point represent? So in the case of this small visualization exercise, where I'm going to be looking at snowfall per ski season, my data labels will be the ski season years. And then the last thing you need to have are your data points. So for our visualization, it'll be snowfall in inches. Those are the 3 things you need just to get started. So we're going to get started. These 16 lines of code are all you need to build a visualization to start with Apex chart. I'm going to start down here on lines 14 and 16. They're going to stay consistent across all of the demonstrations. I think I have about 6 demonstrations I'll show you guys. So in line 14, this is how you get the chart on the page. You just set a variable equal to a new Apex chart. Then you give this Apex charts 2 arguments. The first argument is where exactly you're going to put the Apex chart. on the page. So for me, I have a div with the class name of chart. So that's where we're going to put our Apex chart for the majority, actually all of the demonstrations. And then the second argument you pass in is a dictionary. I call this dictionary options. Apex dictionary also called this, Apex charts also called this dictionary options. And this options dictionary will just give Apex chart all the information that you need to build your data visualization. And then line 16, then you render the chart to the page. Okay, so lines 14 through 16 will stay the same. We're not going to revisit those again. Everything else we're going to be doing in this options dictionary, which is going to have everything that you need to build your chart. And like I said before, there are only 3 things you need to get started. And the first is your chart. So there's a key of chart and you put in the type. So for us, it's going to be a line chart. Then there's the key of x-axis, which are x-axis labels, which are the years of our ski season starts. And then lastly, our data points, which is this series key value pair, where I have the snow in inches for our data visualization. So putting that all together gives us this. Very little code for, I think, a pretty visual chart from Apex charts here. So when I look at this graph, I think, okay, great. We can see some sort of, up and down in the years of 2012, 2014, and I can slowly see snowfall decreasing from 2015 to 2021. However, when I look at this chart, there are some things critical pieces of information that are missing. I think one being a title, one being the labels on our x-axis. Is this all the snowfall in 2012? Or is this the snowfall for the 2012 to 2013 ski season? Is 240 centimeters or inches of snowfall? And I'm only saying snowfall because I know that represents snowfall. So the next thing I'm going to show you guys is how to add a title and your axes labels. And if you guessed that we'd be making changes to the options dictionary, you were correct. The first thing that needs to happen is I added in a title key value pair. The title requires a dictionary. All of this syntax is outlined in the Apex chart documentation. So I'm just taking their documentation and applying it into this options dictionary. Anyways, so I'll put a title key, and then my value will be a dictionary, which has the name of my chart, as well as some stylistic choices of where I want to put the title. For my x-axis, I already have an x-axis key value. So I just added in within the x-axis dictionary, another dictionary of title, which has the name of my x-axis, as well as a couple of stylistic options and choices. And then finally, I didn't have a y-axis key in my original chart, so I added that in, and I added 2 keys within the y-axis dictionary. There's the labels key, which will add the inches to every marker on my x-axis, and then, or on my y-axis. And then I also added the title, which is similar to the y-axis and the previous title that I already created. So those updates now show we have a title, and now you guys know that we're looking at the Keystone snowfall of the past 10 years. You can see the ski season start year. So this is 2012 to 2013 ski season, 2013, 2014, etc. And then you can see on the y-axis here that we have the snowfalls in inches and the total snowfall. Okay, great. So then the next thing I wanted to show how to do an Apex chart is how to compare your data against itself. This is great. We can see there's some sort of downward trend starting in 2015. but there are some low data points in 2012 and 2014. What if we compared it against itself? What's the overall average? So I'm going to add a line that shows the average over the past 10 years. So it's called a reference line. In an Apex chart, it's updating the options dictionary again and adding in an annotation. I know I want my annotation to hit the y-axis. So I have this y-axis key with an array that has all of my different options that I want. 197 is the average. And then I add in some color orientations that I wanted to make, as well as some text. And this is what comes up. So overall, you're able to see the data and see it against its own average. It's a little surprising. This average, I think, is a little lower than you would think just by looking at this graph, because we have such a high point in 2013 and 2015. However, the 2012 and 2014, I think, are so low that they're driving down this average. But now you can at least compare 10 years against itself. And still, snowfall is definitely going down. So the next thing I wanted to take a look at is, okay, this is great. We're looking at just Keystone, but I did say ski season snowfall over time. So what if we want to add in a second resort or more data points? In Apex chart, that was super simple. So all I had to do was modify my series key and then add in within the array that's associated with the series, add a second dictionary of series data. So now we'll take a look at both Keystone and Winter Park. Just that update. And now we have a pretty good looking chart with two different resorts, looking at the different snowfall between the two over the past 10 years. Interesting to see that Winter Park has more snowfall than average. But overall, it does look like both of these are going down over time. I have a couple more demonstrations I wanted to show. Most of them are pretty visual and orienting the visuals around. The first thing I'm going to do is update this legend here. Actually, one thing I wanted to show that I think I skipped through is Apex charts, just the bare minimum gives you these tooltips and a lot of great resources. When I added that second data series without me telling it to do anything, it went ahead and added a little legend at the bottom. So I don't like how the ski season start year is centered on the x-axis, and that this legend is centered across the entire chart. So I'm going to move this legend. I'm going to show you guys how to customize the legend a little bit in this next demonstration. Again, it's adding another key value pair within the options dictionary. The key is legend, and then the value is a dictionary of, I'm updating the position, putting it into the top right. I'm updating the font, and I'm inversing the order so that it shows Winter Park and then Keystone, since Winter Park was on top and then Keystone was on the bottom. So that's what that comes out to be. Let me move this in a little bit. All right, and now the last thing I want to do is customize the colors. In my previous role, that was exciting because you could customize it based on the company you're working with if you wanted to use their specific colors. Sometimes if you're working with data that's representing a cause, like for example, if you're visualizing breast cancer data, maybe it'd be great to use a palette with some pinks in it. I find that I'm updating the colors often and not using the normal colors that are automatically given to me. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. I at first wanted to change the colors and thought, oh, I'll incorporate the Winter Park and Keystone colors. But I Googled them and they're both black, red, and white. So I'm not doing that. I'm just going to show you how to use a couple of colors that I think are pretty. And it is extremely simple, at least with Apex charts. It was very simple. All you do is add a colors key value pair. The value is an array, and the array corresponds to the different series of data that you've added to your chart. So that first color, the 054 5B4, will represent the first series of data, my Keystone data in my series array. And then the second color, they will represent the second series of data in the series array. And there we have it. Now the colors are changed. The colors are changed. Something I think that's really cool about Apex chart, I'm not sure if this is similar to in other data visualization libraries, but all I had to do was update one line within my code, and it changed the colors not only in the main chart lines, but also within your tooltip and also in your legend up top. So everything was changed. You didn't have to go in and customize, but you can if you want to. Say you wanted, for whatever reason, Winter Park and Keystone to show different colors than your data lines, you absolutely can. It's just going into the specific legend portion rather than your overall colors key value pair in your options dictionary. And that's it. Actually, one more thing. I'm going to go back and answer our previous question. I know I said it a couple of times. Has resort snowfall decreased over time? I think it has, looking at this chart. But I think there's always hope for next year, so, or this season. Okay, now I'm really done. Thank you guys. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Lucy. This was great, and it got me more excited for ski season. So that was a nice added bonus. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and say it aloud, or if you prefer, you can type it in chat and we'll pull it out from there. Yeah, Sherry, I'm sharing the link to the slide deck right now in chat. You guys will all have access to that. I have a question. So when you're working on creating charts and things like this, what sort of accessibility things do you keep in mind?
That's a great question. In terms of accessibility, I'm not super sure about like when you add in a picture and you can add in like alt text. I'm not really sure about the alt text options within charts, but when I think accessibility, inclusion, diversity within charts, I think a lot of it comes into the data sets themselves as well, and making sure you're not misrepresenting data and being a detriment by not including some like the full scope of data visualization, because I think there's a lot of power in showing a story visually, but at the same time, you have to use the power well. If you're not representing things accurately, it can really create a decision or inform something incorrectly.
Definitely. So I've got a question from Larry. They asked, in your demo, you hard-coded the data into an array. Is there a way to read the data dynamically, like from a Mongo or SQL database?
Absolutely, yeah. I chose for this particular presentation just to use a hard-coded information, but you can certainly pull data from an API or from SQL and create some sort of variable that either aggregates or keeps your data clean, keeps your data raw, and then use that to be a part of your visualization. And same with, I think there are also a lot of opportunities. My options dictionary by the end was just so long. I mean, there's other options to reformat and make your syntax a little cleaner by maybe pulling out some of those dictionaries above. I think that'd be a similar similar methodology as getting your data from another source, labeling that as a variable and using that variable within the options dictionary. Did I answer the question fully?
Did for me. I'm
Same with your accessibility. Did I answer your question fully on that one?
yeah, definitely touched on some important things that makes a lot of sense. And then I think other Jen had one a little earlier. Jen asked, how do you decide which library to use? Is it by utility or look?
A combination of both. I found Apex charts, I think mostly from the look. I really liked the look of it. And I think when I used Apex charts the first time, I had a very simple data set. It's not as good for larger data sets. And at the same time, I have chosen other libraries for utility because they could do certain things that I wanted them to do. So I think it just depends on the purpose you have in mind.
Great, thank you.
And I see another one from Larry came in. It says, I've seen most data jobs use Python because it has better libraries, math/science, etc. Does JavaScript have any similar libraries?
So that's a great question. I'm more familiar with JavaScript, and the Apex chart I was showing was using plain vanilla JavaScript. I don't have as much experience with Python, so I haven't searched a lot of Python resources. So I don't know if I could speak on that. Jen, do you have anything on that?
I have not touched any Python either.
Yeah. Sorry, Larry.
Yeah, maybe that's why I've been hesitant to try Python, because it's better at math. Although I agree, JavaScript can be weird.
Yeah, JavaScript and math can be weird.
Yeah. I coded a whole POS feature using JavaScript and it still rounds wrong today, I believe. Any other questions? I can certainly keep asking some. What about data viz tools like Power BI and Tableau? How do they fit in here?
They do fit in other ways. So Power BI and Tableau are software packages that already exist and already kind of ready and built. Whereas what I was showing, these libraries are more built, but I think you're doing a lot more hard work. I'm trying to think of. Tableau is a great tool. Honestly, it's a great tool for, I've used it to help me visualize what I want to code. It's a great tool for taking a look at what you have in terms of a data set. I don't want to say it can help you clean your data, but it can help you just take a look at the ranges you have, kind of play around with it. Tableau is a very powerful and great software to use. What else can I tell you about it? There's so many things I can say about it. I'm struggling on what parts to talk about.
I think it makes a lot of sense using it to, like, I guess, figure out what your chart would even be of.
Yeah.
Jen asks if they have different purposes. Or so maybe I think what could be helpful is like, what is Tableau and how is that different than Apex charts?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if they have different purposes. Like I think it's similar purposes. I haven't gone deep enough to know if there's a benefit to coding over Tableau. I think for me, Tableau is very customizable. It's very easy to use for someone who doesn't really know how to code. It makes everything very accessible. So whereas coding, you have to know at least the basics of coding to make it happen. So I think Tableau is probably more accessible if you're looking into just data visualization as a whole. And what Tableau does is it has a way for you to connect to different data sources. And it'll put, for example, if I had, let me think about how I can put this in example for my snowfall visualization. Maybe I had a very basic Excel sheet, which had keys. Let me see if can I pull up like a,
Yeah, please.
give me 1 second. I'm gonna quickly grab an Excel sheet. So that we're all on the same page.
Catherine also asked, why is Tableau so expensive? Feel that way about most software.
I can guess why they want to corner their market on it to be an enterprise tool. That makes sense, but it makes it so inaccessible to anybody who doesn't have something like $700 a year. It's bonkers.
A lot.
I wish there was like a solo version, like I think of Figma and other like design tools that just have like a free version. If it's just you solo, like just let me like play around with it a little bit. Yeah. Anyway.
No, absolutely. Actually, that might be one of the benefits of coding is it might be a little more free, a little less expensive. And I do think they have free trials, but when I used it, I already had a license with my company. But let me just do like a quick so if I had this Excel sheet, and I'm going to make up numbers, I don't remember what the numbers were, so I'm going to just do.
I got bit by a free trial recently. Adobe like sucks you in and that you actually agree to a contract for a full year of payment. So definitely be careful with the free trials on software that's out there. I was able to cancel it, but it took some Reddit searching.
I'm glad you're able to get out of it.
Yeah. It's gonna be like $200. It's like, what?
Okay, so Tableau, it has options to connect to a lot of different databases or data sources. One data source I would use a lot is Excel. One data source I would use sometimes would be SQL databases. But what's cool about Tableau is that if I gave it this Excel spreadsheet, it would automatically know. You can configure it so it knows that like Winter Park and Keystone are specific entities. The ski start year is a specific entity, so I can drag and drop different entities. Actually, I'm sorry, I need to do one more thing. I put this wrong. So really what I would do here is I would actually need to format this kind of like a SQL database. So I'll say park and then snow. I'm going to say 2012 and then 2013.
Oh.
I would just comment real quickly that SQL and Power BI are still really the only free places you can practice in. So you can still download Power BI desktop for free. You can still download I don't remember what this, I think it's SQL Express. You can set up a server on your machine. So those are really the only enterprise tools that are still free to the community to allow people to play around. Yeah, Larry, there used to be a free Tableau desktop and they don't do that anymore.
Okay, yeah. So with Tableau, if I gave it a spreadsheet like this, it would know, okay, ski start year, park, and snow inches are important pieces of information. And it'll have these column names in the left-hand side. And then I can drag and drop those columns to create different charts. And they have all sorts of pre-made charts available to you. You can add filters where I could filter out Keystone, or I could filter out Winter Park. I could add a filter on the side so the user themselves could filter it. I could filter by snowfall. I could say, don't show me any data points that are lower than this number or any higher than this number. It just has it's a visualization tool that takes what you gives it and gives you infinite options to play around with the data. You can kind of get sucked into a little wormhole, but it's also really great. I actually never had experience working in Power BI, but I believe it's a very similar tool. I know a lot of my coworkers also are able to transition back and forth between using Tableau and Power BI based on their client. So I don't know if that was, let me know if there's any other questions.
I don't think I saw anything else come in. People were chatting about free options, which is good to know. Is Breckenridge better than Keystone?
We can consult the data source and add it to the visualization. I can let you know. If we're talking purely snowfall data numbers, I'd have to check. If we're talking opinions, I have them, but I don't have to share it.
Then Ashley just asked a question. Ashley asked, do you know if any of these libraries are more popular / dominant than others? Just anticipating that I might get paralyzed trying to choose a library.
Definitely. The one I hear most frequently in conversations is D3. I think that's the most dominating one that I've heard. I have also heard, and it's also, I think, good for much larger data sets, which I think would be used at an enterprise company level. I've also heard it's a very steep learning curve. I've actually never played around in D3 myself, but that is a tool that I hear thrown around a lot.
I looked at it once and got scared. That's probably what I would do too, Ashley.
Me too. When I chose Leaflet, it was between D3 and Leaflet, and I chose Leaflet. But yeah, maybe there'll be a part 2. I'll have dove into D3 at some point, but we'll see.
All right. Well, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I think we'll wrap up just a little bit early this evening. Thank you again, Lucy. It was great to learn something that I probably wouldn't have bothered to learn on my own. It definitely kind of sparked some ideas on projects I might want to pick up. And thank you for everyone attending, and I'm excited to see you in 2023.